SABC News, independent and impartial.
From an African perspective. Welcome back to Africa Midday. Zambians may now have a positive story to tell as regards power supply and usage in concerned. The country's power
SABC News
is one thing. It is one thing that probably many may not believe it is happening. But yes, it has seemed to come out to be true. Zambia's electricity generator and supplier, Zesco Limited, has announced that the country will no longer experience the load shedding program that the corporation initiated in 2019 June. Zesco Limited is confirming that due to increased power generation resulting from good rainfall experienced during the 2020-2021 rainy season, supply will remain constant and enough with no need for the utility company to shed off load on its machines. Ntalasha Mutale is Zesco Public Relations and Media Liaison Officer.
The good rainfall led to increased water inflows in the Kafue River Basin and thus increased water levels for power generation for both the Kafue Gorge Upper Hydropower Plant and the Iteji Hydropower Plant, which are generating 900 megawatts and 60 megawatts respectively, in comparison to 600 megawatts and 40 megawatts generated at the same time last year. Any power outages therefore experienced are due to either faults, acts of vandalism and theft, or scheduled maintenance works.
The country had been greatly affected by shedding off load of supply, forcing many individuals, businesses and corporations to change their dependency on the dominant power supplier, Zesco. Chipe Gozolo of the Zambia Association of Manufacturers is hopeful that this will result in increased productivity.
Our expectation is that with enhanced supply of energy, we will be able to increase our productivity as well as efficiency, which ultimately, in the medium to long term, should lead to a reduction in costs and subsequently a more competitive product in terms of price for the consumer.
Useful Dodia is the chairperson of the Private Sector Development Association.
It is extremely positive. This will be welcome to all private sector investors because it does mean that the capacity to be as productive as possible, even though we have access to electricity on a more constant basis now, price of electricity went up by 300% in tariffs at the end of 2019. So electricity is not cheap anymore, and therefore having access to electricity comes with a cost. And I'm sure that many of our Zambian residents as well as companies have begun to ration themselves in the use of electricity, not because of the shortage of electricity, but more because it's so expensive.
Chamabo Wamundia of a social and economic think tank in Zambia, the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections, is elated by this development, but only concerned with its sustainability, and that it should not be used as a political tool in this election year.
From the area where I stay, you maybe don't have power maybe once a week, and usually it's for a short period of time. So maybe our main concern would be around the sustainability. Do we see this continuing for a while, or is it something that will end after the elections?
And what does this mean for an ordinary citizen who has not managed to switch to other forms of energy like solar?
Of course, this becomes a good step, because then if people are able to have power, then they're able to go about their various economic activities and they're able to be and also earn their livelihoods. I think the example you've given of the welders, the saloons and the barber shops that are dependent on electricity is also one key example.
Economist Trevor Hambai says having gone back to full power generation capacity, the country needs to immediately work towards ensuring that alternative sources of energy are explored so as not to fall back into the power deficit trap where hydropower generation has been the main source of power. He knows that due to climatic changes, the country has to find other sources of energy. Reporting for Channel Africa in Lusaka, Zambia, I am Arthur Davies Sikopo.
Retire with 30 to 40% less money than men. Research has also revealed that job losses in the formal and informal sectors during the pandemic impacted single woman-headed households. This global pattern is being termed she-cession, where recession affects women acutely. Not only